Hello and welcome to our fourth and final topic of our Adapt, Pivot, and Persist series. We are so glad that you're here joining us for our final topic, which is around actionable networking. So we've gone through our changing mindsets to move forward in a positive direction. We've gone through tactical actions of retooling our documents, of branding, of understanding how to pivot and rebrand in that pivot. So now we're going to talk about getting out there, telling your story, sharing those documents. So glad you're here. If you have not seen any of the previous recordings, if you look in the chat, we have the recordings all posted on our webpage for the site. So refer to that in the chat. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our guest speakers for today's topic.
Well, I will go first if that's okay. My name is Laura Fajín Ribeiro, and I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Life Design for the Advanced Academic Programs at Johns Hopkins University. If you are an Advanced Academic Programs student, I am your Life Design educator, and you are always welcome to connect with me. Who would like to go next?
I can go next. Hi, I'm Antonia Nichols. I am a trust and safety AI consultant. I'm here to talk to you guys about networking. I'm super excited to be here. I've had a career in telecom, private equity, consulting. I have to do a lot of networking in my world. And so I'm very happy to share a couple of stories and have some fun.
And I am Dr. Stacy Mitchell. I am Assistant Director of Life Design here at the Life Design Lab at Hopkins, and I work specifically with our students with international perspectives. So that includes international students as well as our students interested in studying abroad and helping you all learn how to live a fulfilling life while at Hopkins and beyond. Before that, I was a Spanish professor, so I too have been through a career pivot. Networking helped me get to where I am today, so I'm really excited to be here with you all to talk about this exciting topic. Laura is going to get us started off.
Thank you, Stacy. So as we are getting started, I invite you to share your LinkedIn profile in the chat if you are comfortable. This is because it's a great opportunity to start connecting with others in the room who might share similar interests or career goals. And you should think of it as a planting the first seed in what could grow into a valuable professional relation. Networking doesn't always start with a formal introduction. It can start this way. So please go ahead and share your LinkedIns in the chat if you want to. We can get to know each other a little bit more through this presentation, but it would be great if everything is over there. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Hi, Julie. Good to see you here. Okay, so before we dive into today's session, I also want to pause and offer a warm welcome to everyone here. If you are navigating a career pivot or facing job loss or sitting with uncertainty about what's next, know that you are not alone. I want to make emphasis on that. These experiences can carry a heavy emotional load, and it's okay to acknowledge that. But let's take a moment to recognize that it's perfectly human to feel a range of emotions in times like this. So it can be fear, grief, frustration, or even relief and curiosity. So today we are going to focus on relief and curiosity. And after this, I want to start by reframing how we think about networking. Often networking gets a bad reputation. It can feel transactional. In life design, we think about it as a transformative experience. Networking at its best is not about asking for a job. It's about reconnecting with people, offering your own insights and value. You bring always something to the table, and being genuinely curious about others. That is super important. Think of it as planting seeds as the image that we are sharing. You may not see immediate results, but over time, these relationships grow. You have to nurture them and often lead to new opportunities when you least expect them, especially if you're pivoting industries or exploring something new. This mindset shift can make a world of difference. It's hard, but it can make a world of difference. And you are not starting over, you are building forward. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So today we are going to focus on these 4 bullet points. We are going to talk about why networking matters now more than ever. We are going to practice networking one-on-one. Then we are going to reassess and rebuild your network, how we can do that. And for wrapping up, we are going to commit to 2 networking actions. In Life Design, we are all about taking action. That's the last pillar of our 4 pillars of Life Design. If you're not familiarized, you can always connect with me and I will tell you more about them. So I'm going to pass the mic to my wonderful colleague, Stacy Mitchell, Dr. Stacy Mitchell. So yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Laura, for setting us up. Oh, I'm unmuted, so we are good to go. So before we jump into this question that you see on the screen, I want everybody to take a moment, and in the chat, I would like you to please share the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of networking. Right? So I say the word networking, what comes to your mind right away? It might be a feeling, an emotion, an idea, a particular experience, whatever it might be. In the chat, share what comes to mind when you think of networking. I'm going to give us like 10 seconds to get these ideas out. I see connections. I see awkward intros. I hear connection, connecting with new people, schmoozing, a great word, informed conversations. All of these thoughts, thank you so much for sharing. Whenever I ask this question, or whenever any of us ask this question, it's really a gamut, right? It's excitement, but it's anxiety. It's kind of, covering all different ground. And whenever I ask the question, what do you feel about networking, or what do you think of? I also like to share this image because it helps me, and it's always helped me in working through my own limiting beliefs about networking, right? Entering a space when you're meant to talk to people in a professional setting, and these thoughts might creep into your head, right? Why am I even here? What if nobody talks to me? What if I say something stupid? What if I'm completely unmemorable? And for anyone at this moment feeling anxious or uncomfortable about networking, know that you're not alone and that those feelings are valid, like Laura was saying earlier. Especially now, when so many of us are experiencing an unprecedented sense of uncertainty across industries and sectors, and as the nature of work is changing. Yet today, we invite you all into a radical reframe, right? To think about networking not as work, but as opportunity, not as a chore, but as a chance to build meaningful relationships, not as a transactional act, but a reciprocal one, and not as something to dread, but something to look forward to. Before we dive into it, why does networking matter now more than ever? They say that 70 to 80% of jobs are filled through networking and referrals, that only 20 to 30% of job openings are publicly posted. And according to LinkedIn, that 80% of your job search should be networking, where 20% is searching and applying. Now, these numbers are eye-opening, but they're not meant to be intimidating. Rather, they demonstrate a reality that investing in relationships through actionable networking can unlock opportunities. And those include opportunities to get unstuck, to change gears, or to level up as a professional. And with these points in mind, we hope that this workshop empowers you all to take action toward growing your network so you have it before you need it. I'm going to pass things over to our special guest, Antonia, for a special presentation. And Antonia, you can just tell me when to advance as needed.
All right. Thank you, Stacy, and thank you, Laura. Actually, everyone going ahead of me has done a great job of, and in the chat too, of talking about networking. But I wanted to just get super clear on what networking is and what networking isn't, just so that we've got a consistent and common frame of reference for the rest of the presentation. So give me in the chat, you guys can go ahead and drop in. What do you think networking, you guys have already mentioned a number of things about networking in the chat. I'm looking, connecting with new peoples. What other things do you, and intros, sometimes awkward. What are the other things that you think networking is? And what are the things that you think networking is not? And you can do either one in the chat, but we'll just do a chatterfall, as Stacey says. And then I'll share with you guys what I think they are and are not. Nice. So it's an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to connect. Nice, Lisa. It's not a job interview. That's correct. Learning about hiring, building rapport. Yep. Good. An opportunity to learn. I see that you got that many of you have been well prepared by Johns Hopkins, so I'm excited to see that. So let me go. So if you go ahead and bring up the next, if you just click next on the slide. So this is one of the things that networking is. It's a cultivation of productive relationships. It might be employment, it might be business, and frankly, it might be something else. It could be a friendship. It could be a business partner. It could be the girlfriend for that awkward cousin you never thought would ever meet anyone. You just don't know how it is going to be. It's an exchange of ideas and information and services, absolutely. But one of the things that I like around this is it's a place to open a door of possibility. It's just a space of creation and connection. And I'm going to say on the upfront that I'm a very introverted person, and I am a very good networker. And one of the reasons is because I don't think of networking as a need for me to perform. I think of networking as creating possibilities for myself and for the people I'm talking to. And that is one of the things that I love. And so it makes it easier when I go into a big room with a lot of people around. And what it's not, there are a couple of things that you've all shared in the chat. So if you can bring those up. It's not a one-way discussion, either you to them or them to you. It's not just you pitching what you're trying to look for or asking for resources, nor is it them lecturing you on whatever their pet conversation is. It's not a time to do a sales pitch or just to share whatever's on your mind. And definitely it's not a place to close the deal. Like very few people, no one can close the deal in like the 30 seconds to 4 minutes you have usually to connect with somebody. So I would just say this because networking, I think that networking is also a way to tell stories and to listen to stories. And I think that humans create connection and possibility through storytelling and story sharing. And so, and networking is the somewhat boring right-hand way of saying, this is an opportunity to tell stories. Here's listen to stories and create stories together. So you can go to the next slide. But we are here for business school, so I will do a few slides. So here are a couple of rules that I like to adhere to. So there's the 3 C's of networking, a lot of which you've seen already in the chat. And then there are the kind of the rules. Know thy goal, know thyself, know thy value. So know what you want to be there for, know who you are, know what your value is, and do some practicing. So we're going to go through these quickly, and then we're going to do an exercise together, and then we're going to, and we'll be able to move on and wrap it up. So let's take a look at the 3 C's of networking. This is from an article from Forbes in 2020, but it's still really applicable, I find. So first of all, so we've chatted in the chat, you are all familiar that connection is absolutely one of the reasons for networking. This is not just connecting with people though. It's also looking for connections between people and ideas, looking for connections between themes or possibilities. So part of it has to do with how you listen when you go to a networking event. And sometimes what you're listening for is what's missing. It's also an opportunity to celebrate other people and share with them. And I'll share how this looks in real life in a minute. So that's connection. Communication is two-way, right? You know, the saying, they give you one mouth and 2 ears, right? So it's listening attentively and also asking for input, watching nonverbal cues. Obviously, if you're networking internationally, you also want to be aware of cultural norms and what works and doesn't work in an interaction and what's appropriate when you're communicating. And then finally is collaboration. So this is something when I was younger and doing initial networking, like for my first couple of jobs, this was something that I struggled with because I felt that if I were very early in my career or if I were pivoting to a new career, that I wouldn't have much to contribute. That mainly these other people would be contributing to me, and I would be there to hope that someone would take pity on me and give me a job. But that is not accurate. You can contribute in lots of different ways, and so part of networking is listening for where you can contribute, which is a very active listening component, and where you can collaborate potentially with others. So seeking out places to work together, being discerning about where you can make the most impact and not spending too much time where you don't think you can. And then the last thing I'll say is keeping your word and following up. This is one area where I have to say most people fall down, and I don't care how old you are or how experienced you are in the network, in networking, but many people do not follow up. So one of my rules of thumb is I follow up the day of. And I follow up with my email, my phone number. I usually do it with LinkedIn, connect with people on LinkedIn, and a screen and like a time frame that I'm available to meet, so that we're actually moving right into meeting right away. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about how this actually looks in practice, if you guys don't mind. I'm sure all of you have networked in the past, but I just relocated to DC from San Francisco about a year ago. One of the first things that I did here was I went to a networking breakfast that a colleague had recommended me to go to. I was talking with this guy. This guy said, "Oh, I'm looking for a salesperson." And he liked my vibe, and he was talking to me about a job with him. I was looking for a job. He was talking to me a job about sales, but it wasn't quite my job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was listening, I understood what he needed, but I was like, I don't know. He left, and half an hour later, I ended up talking to another guy who was a salesperson and did the same kind of sales that this other first person did. So so obviously the natural thing would be to connect the two of them on LinkedIn, but I didn't really want to do that exactly because I wanted to make sure that I had the right context before I made the connection, because people's time is limited. So I went to lunch with the gentleman with the tech company and listened to what he was looking for. And then I took notes and I said, look, I don't think I'm your person, but I think I met somebody who might be. And then I went back to Ravi, who is the sales guy, and I said, hey, Ravi, this is something we're looking at. Do you think this is suited to you? He said, oh, actually, yes, because I've done this and this. That helped me draft a comprehensive email, not just a connection on LinkedIn, but an introductory email between the two. So what happened in that frame, Robbie got to the finalist of the sales role. They ended up getting rid of the role. He's still good friends with that company, but Ravi then called me and said, I want to sit down and hear your entire life story, and I want to know what you want to do so that I can help you. Whatever I can do to help you. We have not yet found a way for him to help me, but he and I meet every quarter. He is in London right now, and I sent him 3 contacts to connect with. So networking is not just the immediate can I get my thing done? Can I get my job, or can I get in with this company? It's about creating relationships, and because you just don't know what kind of a collaboration might come from that. So, and it's joyous, you know? It's like there's nothing better. There's the only thing better about finding your own job is connecting somebody to theirs, or a date, or whatever it is, in my opinion. So next slide. Oh, so that's a good, oh yes, my chatterful question. So one of the things is, what's the unlikeliest place you've ever made a significant connection? So have you ever, you know, met somebody in line at a movie theater, or have you, some connection that you have made, and it doesn't have to be professional. It could be personal, or friend, or airplanes. Oh yeah, airplanes are great. Dog parks, excellent. Oh, this is great. So when you take a look at the chat, one of the things that you'll see is that these are connections that arise very naturally by just talking to people, right? Like, you weren't really going to the dog park to look for, you know, a connection. You were just showing up and being authentic. And that's one of the things about connecting, is being authentic and being curious and being open. This is awesome. Keep them coming. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so know thy goal. So before any event where you meet other humans, especially professional events, I invite you to ask yourself at least one of some of the following questions, and there's a bunch. What's my mindset going in? Am I curious? Am I anxious? Am I happy? What am I listening for? Who's going to be there? You can keep going. What do I want to learn? How do I want to connect? What at least one way I want to contribute? And what's at least one thing I want to take away? So how you're being, who you're being in those situations, how open you're being, is actually as important in my mind to what you're actually asking, or what you're actually talking about. People love to approach people who are open, and sometimes the question is, what do you want to do? Like, I'm going to a networking event tonight, and I have two goals. One goal is I'd like to make one potential friend, and another goal is, weirdly, I'm doing a personal research project on toxic masculinity, actually. And so I'm curious, like, I'm open to having a conversation around masculinity at this thing with whoever. I don't know. We'll find out. But when you're focused on connecting and communication and collaboration, basically any interaction, anytime you're out with somebody else, it's a chance to grow your network. So networking is just, it becomes part, which I like, because then it just becomes part of life. It just becomes part of how you engage. It doesn't have to be something like, oh, it's a networking event, and now I have to gear myself up. No, it's just another time to connect. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, so here's a question, which is, what is the most unexpected thing you walked away with after connecting with someone? It could be a job, a lead, a story, a ticket. Nice, Stacy. Oh, look, jewelry, professional. This is awesome. So keep thinking about that. I think for me, some of the most unexpected things that I've walked away with connecting from people are actually like new insights about things that I might have been mulling over, whether that's professional or personal. But you never know. You just don't know. I also got a job with a Hollywood celebrity for 3 months. He didn't want to hire me. He just thought I was cool. That's what he told me when he hired me. So weird. Anyway, okay. Property. Nice. I need to be networking where Jeanette is. Okay, next slide, please. So I don't know how many of you have seen this. This is an Ikigai diagram. This is a Japanese approach to finding your purpose in life. And one of the things that it highlights here is We want to look at what you love, what the world needs, what you're good at, and what you can be paid for. And within there, there's passion, mission, profession, and vocation. And why I use this through the lens of networking is that networking can be an opportunity to find any of these things. It can be an opportunity to make a connection with anybody around passion, mission, profession, and vocation. So it's an opportunity to do so, but can you make this, then being able to make those connections has a lot to do with how well you know yourself in these areas. So if you could click the next thing, please. Thank you. So one way to be successful at networking is to tailor your personal messaging to the type of the event and what you want to get out of it. So your message that you're going to be bringing to a drinks event, it's going to be different than a social drinks event is going to be different than potentially like a conference. And then hone your personal value proposition, and then you want to tailor it to the event at hand. So for example, if you're going to a speed dating session, you have a value proposition. Everybody does, because that's what you're going to be talking to people about. So that's your networking, and that's your different value proposition, different type of value proposition than if you are going to a conference or a business function, but you still have to be able to articulate it. And then the last one is, when you're there, play to your strengths and be authentic. You don't have to talk to everybody, but you do need to find the right people to talk to, and that is a function of listening. So I told you at the beginning of this, I'm extremely introverted. I cannot talk to 20 people. I can't do it. It's too exhausting. I only talk to 3 to 5 people at a networking event. And I spend most of the time at the networking event trying to figure out which those 3 to 5 people are. The reason I'm at this speaking here is because Laura and I had a long conversation, but I wanted to talk to her, and here I am presenting to you guys. So it works. So being discerning about who's really going to move something. It's a combination of being discerning around who's going to help move your ball forward, and also being open to new possibilities and to serendipity. Okay, next slide, please. So when you're dealing with business networking now, when you're talking about looking for a job, which many of us are, here's a couple of things. Knowing your ideal role type, knowing you have to know what you are asking for, or what it is that you're trying to position yourself for. So one's knowing your ideal role type, your profession, and being able to speak to that, because ultimately someone's going to ask you, what do you do? Or who do you work for? And these are the answers to those 2 things. So one is, if you have a job, or even if you don't, if you have a job, if someone says to me, what do you do? I say, I'm a consultant. Who cares? You know how many consultants are in this town? It's not meaningful. It's not a helpful conversation. So when people ask me really what I do, I talk about my ideal role type. I say, well, I'm a connector. That is actually what I talk about. I'm a connector, and I do trust and safety, and I'll think about how I position my ideal role type. But one of them is, what's your strategic differentiator? Who are you the go-to person for? What do you love? And what have you produced? And then your unique value proposition is, what do you do? Who do you help? And what's the value that you bring? So the next slide. So here's an example. I'm an eager learner with a finely tuned sense of risk. I love uncovering problems and fixing leaks, whether it's helping my parents save 5 grand on their taxes, or whether it's risk management. What kind of risk are you currently working on? That's one. Another one is, I help mid-sized banks. This is the same conversation for the same kind of role. So this would be like risk management and banking, okay? I help mid-sized banks become better at detecting fraud. I've done a few of these things. The value I bring comes from an extensive knowledge of emerging technologies, blah, blah, blah. But I'd love your thoughts on where my strengths could be best used in the current market. My recommendation is that these 2 things do not happen until the very, very, very end of your networking meeting. The goal is to create connection until somebody is so eager to find out about you that they actually press you. If people are just like, well, what do you do? Because it's just a way to fill the thing, then I just say I'm a consultant, because they don't care about the answer. The only times people care about the answer is after I've made the connection and now they just want to know about me personally. And so for them, then I don't talk about like what I do. I talk about who I am. So in the next, but these are good words to know. So for this next session, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to sit down with a piece of paper and write down your ideal role type and your unique value proposition, because I know most of you are going to be looking for a job. So it's good to be able to have this language. So we're just going to pause here and recognize that this gets honed over time. And one of the best networking things that you can do is draft something crappy right now and then actually reach out to colleagues, teachers, business connections that you trust and ask them if you can rehearse these with them and refine it. It's a great networking opportunity, actually. So, but I'm going to pause here. So what I'd like is if you guys have a piece of paper, see if you take a stab at these two, take a gander, if you will, of these two things and write down maybe what you think your zone of genius or your strategic differentiator is, who you're a go-to person for, what you love to do, and this is part of your ikigai. And then understand what your value is, the value that you bring to your clients. I'm just going to pause. If you're really bold, you can feel free to share in a chat as you write it out. Let's finish your IRT. Go ahead and go to your unique value proposition. While you guys do that, I just created an IRT for myself, right, while we were talking. So I'm going to share it with you guys in the chat. And you can see whether it reflects who you know me to be, given as you guys have known me for 37 minutes. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing.
Antonia, I'm going to reshare yours because I think you just sent it to hosts and panelists.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You're right, I did.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys can absolutely come back to this. I just, for the interest of time, I'm gonna go ahead and click through here and then we'll see if, and please feel free to just share in the chat. So if you could go to click the next, if you could click down one. Oh, actually, if you could go back, they not filling in? I have some examples in here, but but let me do this. I'll read you mine. So, so when somebody asks me what I do, which I get asked constantly, I say, this is how I respond. I say, in my day job, I'm a consultant, but I'll tell you what that means. What that means is I'm endlessly curious and I'm a connector of ideas and people. It also means I'm a tech and culture nerd. And I decided to become, I do responsible AI, trust and safety now, because one of the things I love to do is to use tech to empower organizations and people to meet their strategic goals. That is a way more interesting answer than I'm an accountant. And not that you have to be interesting, but it gives people a lot more things to latch into. Like that people can latch into it from any area. They can latch into it around the connection piece, ideas and people, tech and culture, you know. And what it does also do is it showcases, I think, how much I love what I do. Because I really do love what I do. I'm passionate about it. And everybody loves talking to people who are excited about what they do. And so if you can create an ideal role, an ideal role type that turns you on, then people will relate to that energy. My own unique value proposition is, I say, things like, what do? I help federal and private sector clients basically reach their strategic goals through through the responsible deployment of technology. Where I am valuable is that I have done a lot of things in my career. I have had a very diverse background, from telecom to private equity to design thinking in Singapore. I've lived in multiple countries. And where some people find that complicated, I find it to be a real strategic differentiator, because it allows me to pull ideas from a lot of different places
Antonia,
to be innovative.
I think we lost your
You lost
video.
my
There we go.
video?
While I'm unmuted, I will say we have a question
Yeah.
about adding personality. You know, and I think you're already demonstrating that yes, you want to add your personality to these prompts and to you talking about yourself and networking. But if you want to speak to that.
Yes, I will happily speak to it. When you're at a professional networking event where everybody is you're having the same conversation 100 times in a day. Who are you? What do you want from me? What do you do? Who do you work for? Are you worth my time? That's the conversation that everybody's got. Okay? Because everyone's got limited time. They're all trying to look around. So I think that so adding personality helps, and also it being engaging helps, because how many times are people going to be like, think of I was at a conference last week at Johns Hopkins, and I probably met 20 graduate students from Johns Hopkins there. It was the nationals. It was the science and diplomacy conference. Could I tell you anything initially about any of these students, where they were from, what they did, what they were majoring in? Could I help them? No, because all they told me was that they were a graduate student at Johns Hopkins. I get it. Of course you are, because I'm at Johns Hopkins. So I don't need to know that you're a graduate. Like, it's helpful, but it's not the whole story. And so what I want to know is, what's the whole story? Like, what do you guys want? What's turning you on? Why are you at the conference? What are you interested in listening to? So yeah, don't be afraid to share your personality. Don't be afraid to share what you're passionate about. People love to talk to people who are passionate, who are friendly, who are warm, cheerful, charming. And you have to bring your personality to have all those things. And even if you're more reserved, what people still love is authenticity. Okay, they want to do that. There's one more thing I'm going to say about networking at this moment in DC. This is a very tough time to be a professional in Washington, DC, because of the number of layoffs that are happening right now, because of the dramatic shift in policy and for the government, because there's so many government employees. One of the things that I have noticed in my networking is that there is quite a bit of underlying shock and grief in professional settings, as people are trying to absorb some of these big changes. There's also, depending on who you're talking to, a sense of purpose, a sense of eagerness, and so on. So it depends on who you're talking to and where they are in the spectrum. But giving people space to show up as they are and being able to connect on a human level is a huge gift to people. And I will say that I just moved here from San Francisco. I moved here from San Francisco a year ago, and a year ago, San Francisco was going through massive tech layoffs, and it was the same thing, right? Anytime that there's a massive sea change, where you've got a lot of changes and layoffs in the environment, the more compassion and empathy you can bring to your networking, the more rewarding it is, the deeper the connection can be, the more you're going to understand different insights of what's happening in the world. So it's good to know who you are, and it's also really, really powerful to create space for the people you're talking to. So can you go to the next slide, please? So here's some things to know, practice for your next, could be your social event. It could be any event, networking or personal. One is know what your talents and passions are, because everybody likes to talk to people who are passionate about what they do. So talents are things that you innately do better than most people, versus skills, which are things that you've learned. So if you have a sense of what your talents are, that really helps leverage, brings your unique value proposition up a bit. Because so I am a great connector. I'm a connector of people and ideas. And so it's a talent of mine. It's a gift of mine. So I share that. Another is what to expect when people collaborate with you. What can they count on? In terms of so something you could to articulate, and it's something to check with your network, is what is people's experience when they collaborate with you? And I would recommend actually putting these 3 things into an interview, like an interview questions, and reaching out to your network. These are to people who you trust, people who you feel know you pretty well, people who've known you in a variety of situations, and ask them these questions and say, could you take 10 minutes? Could you give me a sense of things you think I innately do better? Or what do you come to me for over other people in your network? What's it like to work with me? And anything else that you think is relevant. And I'll answer the same questions for you. People love this interview question. So it's a 2-way street, again, never just one. And then it's good to understand your own personal mission and purpose. Outside of everything that you're trying to work on, speaking from your mission and purpose will help you find the right people that you want to network in, because where ultimately what you're looking for is not always a job. You're looking for people who kind of share the same vision of the world as you. And you want to look for people who might be able to counter that vision. But it depends on what ultimately, what's your mission in the networking event, and what's your personal mission in life? So when someone says to you, what do you want to be doing? You know how to answer that question. What do you want to be doing and how? So impact and influence, personal growth and learning, and values and ethics. Can you click through these last two and see if I have? Nope. Okay. I don't know why the things are not floating in, but that's okay. Maybe there isn't one. Okay. That kind of wraps up my section, and I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to come and speak. And it's not the end of the presentation, but I hope that if there's one thing that you take away from this, it's that humans are built for storytelling, and giving somebody a space to tell their story is a gift, and that's a huge part of what networking allows you to do. And so it can be very overwhelming, but it can also be it can be really rewarding. So I just wish you guys all the luck in the world. And I'll hand it back over to Stacy, because I think Stacy's got a few more slides to share. Thank you.
So I will go ahead, but first I want to say really quickly, thank you, Antonia, really. I had the pleasure of meeting Antonia last semester at an event for Johns Hopkins in DC. And just briefly, she made such an impact on me that I changed the way I see my current job as a life design educator. She really helped me change many mindsets and make it better so I can do a better job. And that's just from having a conversation with her. So it's crazy. The power of this.
That.
Yes, I didn't tell you, but it's true. It's so true. Yes.
That's another thing about networking. You'll never know the impact that you have.
You'll never know. So thank you so much. And I'm going to move to this slide and quickly tell you a little bit about these not concentric circles because of the lack of space I had in the slide, but I put them like that. I want you to name someone in the chat. You don't have to use their name, but you can say what they do. So someone you haven't talked to in a while, but could reconnect with. And in the meantime, while you do that, let's take a moment to map out your current network. So imagine your relationship in 3 circles. Your inner circle, the core, includes people you know well, those you have worked closely with, studied alongside, or had meaningful conversations with. The middle circle includes people you have met but don't speak to regularly, LinkedIn contacts, former classmates, or people from past events. And the outer circle is full of potential people you don't know yet, but who might be doing work you admire or are connected to your field through alumni groups, professional spaces, or even second-degree LinkedIn contacts. So the purpose, the reason, the why for this exercise is that it helps you see that you are not starting from zero. Everyone has a network, even if it's small right now, and there are strategic ways to grow it. So once you have a sense of who is in each circle, think about how you can expand and deepen your connections. You can start with LinkedIn. You can start with OneHop, that is this mentoring platform we have at Hopkins. You can start with industry-specific communities. And you might also want to check Slack channels, virtual groups, meetups, conferences, of course, or even newsletters that help you engage in professional conversations. And finally, the goal isn't to reach out to everyone at once, but to identify a few key people in each circle and begin nurturing those relationships with curiosity and intention. I cannot make enough emphasis when I say you don't have to rush through networking. You can take your time. You can, just enjoy it. As Antonia was saying, it can be a joyful experience. You might be able to get more from a 30-minute conversation with one person or 2 people than from connecting with 30 people on LinkedIn in 1 week. So make sure that you see networking as a joyful experience that allows you to explore who you are as well. And I think that's it for me, Stacy.
Thank you both so much. And we're going to be wrapping up here. So to begin our wrap up, I'm going to start with an invitation to you all. I invite you all to take 1 step forward starting today. 1 step forward in your networking journey. And that could look a variety of different ways. That could look like messaging someone you've been meaning to connect or reconnect with. That can mean signing up for a networking event, virtual or in person, that's near to you. Following up with someone just to say, hey, it was great to meet you. Let's stay in touch. Small actions like these can create big momentum. And by integrating small actions like these ones into your already existing routine, your network will grow before you know it, along with your possibilities. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to ask everybody to kind of reflect for 45 seconds, okay? And if you feel compelled, share in the chat, but let's think. Think about 1 step or 1 action that you can take in the immediate future, maybe today or tomorrow or next week, to engage in actionable networking. There's some examples there in the slide. Is it sending a message? Is it attending an event? Is it following up with somebody? I want you to write it down and to put it someplace you'll see it every day. Maybe it's in your planner. Maybe it's on a Post-it that you stick on your laptop or on your desk. And I want you to think of how you can keep yourself accountable for that act. Again, this is for you to be thinking and reflecting, but if you feel compelled, share your commitment in the chat. And as you reflect on the step or steps that you plan to take forward today in the near future, and as you reflect on this whole session, we want you, especially those of you currently navigating a career transition, to take away this important reminder that wherever you are or wherever you're heading in your career, you're not starting over. You're starting from experience. You're carrying with you everything you've learned, the relationships you've already built, and the resilience you've gained into this next chapter. That's powerful. Let it sink in and let it get you moving. Michelle has put in our chat a survey for feedback. So if you would all please takes a couple of minutes to fill out that survey. We really appreciate your feedback so that we know what is working and how to continue to serve and support you moving forward. For everyone in attendance, we're going to be following up with you via email, I believe, with some additional resources on networking from the Life Design Lab. And know that if you have any questions regarding the ideas we covered here today or anything else, that you can feel free always to reach out to Lauda or I as your life design educators. Again, all sessions in the Adapt, Pivot, and Persist series are available online. And note that we've added one additional session next week with the Second Decade Society on April 30th from 12 to 1 p.m. That's next Wednesday. Thank you all so much for joining us in this virtual space today and for sharing your time and energy with us. We hope that this session has been helpful and that you leave today feeling energized at the prospect of building new connections forward. And if anyone else would like to share or say a couple of words to finish us out, thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.